Jack, thank you for joining our YouTube videos today, and we're going to talk about rowing and the work you're doing for mental health. But talk us a little bit. First of all, give us an introduction to you, and how do you know René? What's your memories of him as a person?
Yeah, so I'm studying materials at Imperial College, and I in my first year, which was back in 2016, I joined the boat club at Imperial, and that's the same year that René joined in September. So he was doing his masters at Imperial that year. So yeah, I didn't know him for very long, only from September 2016 to January 2017. But I think part of the thing about rowing is you're training like once or twice a day. You get to know people quite quickly, quite closely. And so I raced with him a couple of times in my boat, and then obviously when he died, it was a complete shock to everyone at the club, and I think not just because it was a case of suicide. It was more that everyone was so shocked that it was René who was suffering from these mental health issues, and I think that really opened my eyes, because I had no idea what the signs were, and I look back now and I can see that there were things that he was doing that could have indicated that someone needed to have a conversation about it with him or with the coaches, but at the time I was oblivious, and like I remember he, in the months leading up to his death, he sort of stopped coming to training a bit. We didn't see him too often, and he just said, "Oh, I've been a bit ill," and I didn't really think too much of that. I just didn't really go into it. We've come out of that, but everyone's very much been affected by it. And for myself personally, as I said, I sort of questioned whether if I knew some of the things I know now, I might have known a bit more about what I could have done to help. And I think also one of the things that strikes me about René when I look back is that he was always very bubbly, very talkative, very chatty. Like in the changing rooms or when you're training or whatever, he wasn't the kind of person that I would have thought would be having mental health issues, because in my head that was someone who was like very quiet and reserved and maybe not very sociable, and that was the opposite of René. René was always one of the loudest people around, like very funny guy, and that's just sort of emphasised for me how oblivious I was. So
with the impact has gone on to you to start rowing together for a healthy mind.
Yeah, so from that, from obviously his death, the next academic year, James Harrison, who's in the crew for Race4Rene, he was the kit officer for our boat club. And he came up with a charity vest top to be worn by Bristol and Imperial, because obviously René rode for Bristol before Imperial, at a race in January. And so that happened, and it was really great, and it was really powerful to have the two universities sort of join together on this joint venture. And afterwards, me and a friend of mine who rows at Bristol and knew René, a friend of mine from home, we sort of thought it would be really cool to do the same thing but for lots of different universities, because there's been a few other cases. I know at Durham University there was a guy who took his own life in the last 2 years, and we just thought that it would be quite well taken. And so in sort of August, September 2018, we started Rowing Together for Healthy Minds, which is a campaign that looks to raise awareness about mental health in the rowing community. So at the start, we didn't think it would be have that much of an impact. We weren't really sure how big it would be, how keen boat clubs would be to join. So the initial idea was to make a tech top, which is a bit like a t-shirt that you wear under your club rowing suit or whatever, to race in. So the idea was to make a universal tech top that universities would wear at the Bucks Regatta Championships, which is like the British Universities Championships in May for this year, which has just gone. And so that was the initial plan, and we've got a few contacts at different universities, and the initial reception was pretty good. So we got in contact with about 5 or 6 different university boat clubs, Edinburgh, Newcastle, Durham and Oxford, etc. And they bought into it pretty well, and we did an initial sort of order for the tops in November, and so we sold 500 in November, which was quite a lot more than we were expecting to go, and so then from there it became a sort of social media driven venture, and through Instagram and Twitter, we asked the other boat clubs and quite a few other people to sort of post about the campaign and about the tops over this sort of a weekend's period, and from there it sort of blew up completely. We've now partnered with 128 clubs.
Wow.
And we've sold over 3,000 of the tops. And we've partnered with Mind Charity. This campaign we haven't registered as a charity ourselves, but all of our profits go to Mind, the mental health charity. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's been great to see it take off so quickly, and it's been incredibly powerful for me doing the races from like February to now, seeing how it's grown. And so at the Bucks Regatta, which was back at the start of May, almost every single boat that was racing had at least one person wearing one of the tops, and many of the boats had everyone in it wearing the tops. And I think obviously the selling the shirts isn't like what the campaign is for, but I think it was a good way to spread it throughout the rowing community quite well. Obviously our aim is to sort of spread education and awareness, and we want, so the overall idea was that someone like René, who rowed in a rowing club, would feel comfortable talking about his mental health issues to his coach or to his friends or to his family, in the same way that if I broke my arm, and someone asked you what's wrong, I'd be like, oh, I've got a broken arm. It's like, if you've got anxiety or depression or psychosis or anything, then it shouldn't be stigmatized that you feel embarrassed to tell people about that. It should be a normal conversation that people have, and that's the impact that we want to leave, or the impact that we want to build throughout the rowing community. So what we're focusing on now is we're filming a video where we're interviewing rowers from lots of different backgrounds. So we've got some university rowers, some club rowers, some GB athlete rowers, all talking about their personal mental health and how they think it links in with rowing as a sport. We're going to release it in June, and similar idea. We want lots of people to see it and to normalise the conversation of mental health. The idea is people see it, and it might encourage them to take the first steps into into helping them recover from mental health issues, where often we find that they're quite isolating illnesses, in the fact that if you have one, quite often people tend to not tell their family, or it almost becomes a wall where you don't want to be around anyone else because you don't want them to know about it, and that makes it worse. And that's what we want to look to improve.
Sounds a fantastic organisation and a great achievement so far. If people want to find out more or get involved, how can they get in contact?
Yeah, so we've got most of what we do is through Instagram and Twitter. You can find us at rhythm_UK, RTHM_UK. We've got an email. Our email address is rhythm.ukmind@gmail.com, and we're working on getting a website up. But most of our communication goes through those channels.
So if somebody's got a rowing club or is just interested in getting involved, get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And do whatever you can to
Yeah.
help and support.
Yeah, absolutely. We so initially it was mainly going to be a student thing. It was just going to be student boat clubs, and we got so many other like just normal rowing clubs in the UK that wanted to get involved. We decided to just like drop that tagline, and so as I said, we've affiliated with 128 clubs, and with that, it's sort of we're designing a poster about mental health that we want to, and we're going to give that out for free to the clubs that have affiliated with us, and that's sort of to go in their gym, to just outline a few basic bits of mental health first aid, a few signs to look out for, hope that people read and educate themselves a little bit, and yeah, so that's what the clubs that are affiliating get out of it, and it's sort of just like showing their support to their members, like they want to prioritise mental health for their athletes over other things.
And getting the message out in whichever way you can.
Absolutely.
It's terrific. Jack, thank you very much for joining our YouTube
Thanks for
videos.
having me.
Best of luck with the campaign.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to hearing more as the weeks and months go by.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.